Thanks for listening to Fluff and Crunch, where we talk about the connection and sometimes disconnect between system, setting, and story in tabletop RPGs. Thanks as always for listening. If you'd like to get past the introductory stuff and you want to get right to the story itself of our co-op episode for Captain's Log, jump right to the 4-minute mark, and that's where we pick up. All right, I'm recording. Right on. Howdy.
You know what we haven't done at any point is talk about our gaming over the last week. Then again, I haven't done any, so then maybe that's why.
No, we haven't actually.
You've been gaming, though.
I have, yeah. So you haven't done anything. You've been on vacation and sweltering.
I'm trying to think. Exactly what I said would happen happened over the summer, which was we didn't manage to meet to do anything.
Right.
So we did meet last week and played Outer Rim, which is this really cool Star Wars board game, and we're playing that again next week. And then I think maybe we'll start doing some stuff from next week.
Now, did you remind me? Did you wrap up to your satisfaction, or at least wrap up your funky like 3-way 5e campaign that you started?
I wrapped up my bit. I wrapped up the bit where I was GM. Brian was like super close to wrapping up, and then just got so busy at work that he couldn't finish. Yeah, I finished my bit, and we did it for sort of 6 months. So
good. Yeah, I believe that we are one session left. We have one session left in our 5e first century AD campaign. As required by 5e law, the big bad boss fight awaits us.
Yeah, I did that, but my big bad boss fight also took over like a whole city and was basically on a Star Destroyer over the city. And then they ended up fighting him in like some temple at the top of the city. So mine was I think mine went like straight up anime. I was like, I'm not dicking around. This is, we're going to fight on what's the front of a boat? The bow? Yes. We're going to fight on like the bow of a Star Destroyer-esque skyship.
Sure.
And it was pretty cool.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. That'll be the longest time that I have been a player in, I don't remember how long. I mean, honestly, probably more than a decade, well more than a decade, that I've been a player straight in a single campaign. So, but I don't know if this counts. I think it counts. Co-op.
This counts. Co-op counts. I guess. I don't know.
No, I think it counts. Because I mean, it's this funky hodgepodge of like playing and GMing and all that good stuffing.
Oh, this is what playing Powered by the Apocalypse and Fate is like all the time. Allegedly.
No. The primary difference is that I'm enjoying this.
Wow.
So, as opposed to every time I have played either of those systems, I have been acutely aware of how much I was not enjoying myself.
I find it really frustrating every time I'm looking into like what system would run such and such.
Yeah.
And the replies are always like GURPS, Savage Worlds, Powered by the Apocalypse, and Fate, and then Cortex Prime. And I'm just like, back in the day, Cortex have been like, yes, I agree with you. And I was just like, I don't want any of those to be the answers because I don't want to play
it's almost like a canned response. Like maybe people have those in little Post-it notes, and they just copy and paste. But
people suggest their favorite system.
Yeah.
And that's, which is fair enough. And if those systems work for you, then, all power to you. But yeah.
Well, cool. Let's do this then. Let's see what happens to our intrepid crew of the USS Tracy. Once again, an Oberth class rescue ship that is involved in some kind of terrible, troublesome situation on Beta Inari VII.
Yeah. So in the first part of the episode, there was a distress call from some explorers on a planet, and our characters, Lieutenant Commander Katari, who is our chief engineer, and Lieutenant Commander Krull, our chief security, went down to the planet with 3 others, an engineer, Lieutenant Junior Gray Johnson, a scientist, and crewman Speg, who's another security person, and were ambushed And that was where we go. That was literally in the first episode. Second part of the episode, they managed to find their way to some ruins, discovered there had been some kind of cataclysmic plague which had wiped out the whoever lived there, the aliens that lived there a long time ago. Found their way into a building where they discovered a lot of records of this planet. Actually, this was only an outpost for these aliens, and we don't actually know what happened to them. They definitely talked about like kind of the local life being very, very dangerous. So whether they were all killed or they all left or they were killed, we don't know, but we know they left. We then came across one of the explorers. We found the explorer's camp, but no explorers. One explorer turned up and then turned literally inside out into this big blob thing, kind of like the Thing, and attacked us, killed Speg. Speg bought the big one. But we managed to defeat. In fact, it was Lieutenant Johnson. Managed to having grabbed by the intestines, which were basically the tentacles of the creature, broke a rib off and stabbed it in the brain.
Yeah.
And then that was the end of it. So the plan. Yeah. Then we discovered that there was from the readings that Guattari and Johnson took, it looked like there was a minimal amount of time before the other explorers, depending on whether we calculate, a minimal amount of time until they suffered the same fate as the explorer he found.
Right. Based on the tricorder processing, the information from the goop monster, the Thing that came after us, and what was left of that crewman's DNA, because it was in flux, we determined that this is a it's a process with a time limit on it. So that the clock is ticking down. We have the alien laminate sheets and maps, whatever like physical artifacts of information storage that we have, some kind of strange like alien laminate sheets or something like that. We have an idea as to where there's like an area they marked as off limits. And we know that the crewman, before he turned inside out, said, I'm not going back there, but we got to do something about the people or whatever.
And technically,
something that we didn't determine, I don't think we can determine. Guattari maybe muses out loud is, was this thing that was taking over, that was taking control, was mutating him, changing him. Is it sentient? Like, was it replacing his consciousness with its own, or was he still conscious? So when he was telling us, I'm not going back there, or when he was rambling on and on before he turned inside out, was that him? Was that it? Was that something in between? I don't know. But no, I do know we got to get a move on.
We do know, we pretty sure there's a smaller kind of creature, which he did imply that something grabbed them. He's saying,
yes.
So he implied there was a smaller kind of creature on this planet which grabbed the explorers and took them somewhere. And he said they were in something, and then he'd escaped and turned into this inside out blob thing.
And we also know that, and Guattari would bring this up as a reminder, that remember that those, we had two different kinds of DNA and other material, biological material related to the smashed shuttle. So actually, you know what? Guattari is going to ask Johnson, because Johnson, like his respect for Johnson just went up. Like, she not only figured out the science stuff, but she also like stabbed the guy the brain to death. That's pretty good stuff. Is there any way that she could use her tricorder to maybe adjust to scan for this funky transformative DNA that we're looking at the goop left over from, and maybe that the non-giant dinosaur DNA, so that other smaller life form that we don't know anything about? Is there any way that she could see if there's a connection between the scans that we took from the smashed shuttle and what we just experienced from John Carpenter here?
Yeah, that seems reasonable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So while we kit up and clean off, ask her to putz around with her tricorder and see what she can find out.
You're going to be doing science. Do we think this is sensors? Feels like sensors is close than anything else. Well, I'm going to roll sensors.
Sure, why not?
I'm going to roll her sensors and science.
And do we still have momentum? I think we
uncertain.
Do. I think we do. You know what? I'm going to hereby proclaim that as of right now we do, and we're going to use that to create an advantage that, she has these samples and she's going to be able to hopefully figure this out. What happened? What'd you roll? You roll a 20? You punk. Okay.
And I rolled
Okay,
15. Right. Well, luckily, momentum, one of the things we use momentum for is to re-roll a dice.
do
I'm
that.
interested, but can you re-roll a dice that's come up with a complication? I'm going to rule
Yeah.
no.
What? No,
You
yeah,
reckon
you
we can?
can. In Star Trek,
Okay.
yeah, totally. In
Okay.
all the other
Okay.
ones,
In
any
which case, I
reroll,
am going to
your
re-roll. I
choice.
got a 4. So we got a success.
Good.
That didn't answer the question, though. So that gave us a success, but where's my table? All right. I mean, I think it is probable. So
I do too.
I am calling probable.
Me
And
too.
yes, there is. She says, yes, there is a link. There is a link between the DNA we found on the ship from the smaller creatures because it was inside the crashed
Yes.
Explorer ship and the DNA or the changes to the DNA or the trace of the DNA, which are non-human because I'm assuming
Right.
explorers.
Okay. So is there any way that she can, now that she has that signature, that hybrid signature of this weird transformative DNA and the lizard, whatever it is, DNA from the crash site or smash site rather, is there any way that she can tune her tricorder to hopefully detect those things?
Are we making her roll, or is this another
Well,
probability
actually, you know
matrix
what?
job?
I'm gonna Guitar is gonna say, you know what? Help, give me your. Basically, he's saying, give me your science information, and I will, as a chief
Good
engineer,
idea.
I'll fix the thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and use control and engineering. That's 16. If you could roll for me, I'd appreciate it. I do have a focus in small equipment technology, so I fine tune the
Turns out
heck
to be
out
the
of
most useful focus ever.
it.
I got 2, so that's a yes. I think we've done it.
Okay, I'm gonna preemptively cash in that momentum. Or tell me what you think about this. I think that I was able to take her information and tune the sensors on this thing so that we've got a nasty lizard alien monster detector, and we're going to be able to tell pretty far out where these things are.
But only in a
Yeah.
sort of 70-degree arc in front of you.
And it's going to make a certain motion detector sound.
Yeah, and it can't detect up or down, just ahead of you.
Sure, I'm fine with that.
It's flawed, but will work.
As long as it makes that sound from the motion detector, I'm happy. All right. So we're kitted up. We have our armor. We have 2 phaser rifles.
We do have 2 phaser rifles now.
So Krull has one. Is Johnson going to carry one, or am I going to carry one?
I feel
got a
like maybe
security of
John
3.
should carry it. Maybe you need to be carrying your Guitari needs to be carrying his fancy tricorder scanner
Actually,
thing.
you know what? Is Johnson any good in a fight? I mean, we know she's good in but she's not bad in a fight. But
Well, if we use the ship systems, then no, because technically weapons is 6, so she'd only have a 9.
okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I will carry the other phaser rifle, and I'll say, "Here's a tricorder." She's science. That's her
fancy
thing.
tricorder.
I've got a security of 3 and a daring of 9, so I have a 12, so that's better.
Yeah, she would have 12 on using the tricorder.
Yeah, so we got her doing that. He and I have the phaser rifles. She's got a phaser 2, and there's another phaser 2 somewhere in the group. Let's head off.
All right, so we head off towards the caves.
And that's the end of the first scene.
That is the first scene, which I need to color.
Mm-hmm.
That was successful. We didn't fluff anything. Woo! Doing pretty good. Never failed a scene yet. There's some slightly iffy ones, but no fails.
No.
All right. We're just too competent. What do we think next? Then?
Experts is what we are. Well, I see us heading off into a funky looking alien jungle like that, which is behind me. So we're in Act 3, Scene 2 now, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So what do you think? How is this going to proceed? We're off searching.
Well, I think we're making our way for the jungle. I think let's see if anything happens. Because if nothing happens, we just get to the cave and then there's not a scene, is it? It's just a... But if something happens on the way...
Yeah, it's like just a hand wave sort of scene. Actually, you know what? That's a good point. Does something happen that would challenge us?
Yeah, so I'm going to go 50-50 because...
You know what you're doing right now?
Could or could not. What?
You're rolling a random encounter.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so 50-50. Does something happen on the way? 17. No. So nothing happens on the way. We get our way uneventfully, despite all of the nature sounds, to the cave system.
Okay.
That's not a scene.
That's really not a scene, but
3.15. Be quite well.
How do we? I don't know. How do we?
Well,
Is there anything you looking at the tables, just looking at the random tables? Is there anything you think we could just, I don't know, roll on to flavor our journey?
well, I think we just it's not a scene. We see them walking off into the jungle, and then they appear
Okay.
at the caves.
Oh, so the first scene ends with us doing that, and the second scene we show up at these
We
caves.
show up at the caves.
Okay.
Yes. Right. I'm assuming the caves are dark, but we don't know for sure. So, are the caves very, very dark? Because they could be bioluminescence. So, we're probable the caves are dark.
I think there's
Very probable.
bioluminescent slime.
All right. I'm going to go somewhat. All right. Well, okay. I'm going to go 50-50 again then. I was going dark. It is dark, but maybe it's just a bit dark. So maybe there is some bioluminescent slime, but it's only marginal. Although I feel like I can see in the dark. I have no idea. I've no idea. I'm just saying now, Cations can see in the dark. So
Okay. I don't care. Go for it.
do you ever seen a Star Trek thing where they have shoulder mounted lights? We've got the armor. Don't they have shoulder mounted lights on them?
Sure. We have shoulder mounted lights on our armor. Phaser rifle at the ready.
Yeah.
Nod at each other. Actually, Johnson's going to scan the cave
Right.
using
So
her tricorder.
are there enemy life signs nearby?
Correct.
I'm gonna go with somewhat probable. Yes, there are.
Okay.
I
Are
need to
there
stop rolling these red
human?
dice because I can see the yellow ones.
Okay. We never determined the makeup of the landing party that we're looking for. I
Well, we don't. I
assume.
don't think we know, but no, we didn't.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Would we have that information? I kind of think we would.
We probably would. Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and scan for? I'm sure there's something. Hey, scan for these species.
Uh, yeah. All right. Let's see if we can find them. I'm gonna go again. Somewhat. So.
Well, we got to roll for her scan, I think,
Oh, we got
or
to roll for
me.
a scan. Okay, I can roll for a scan. It's a 12. All right. With momentum. She detects life signs.
Yeah.
And I was wrong for the other one. So I think she detects both lots of life signs. She detects both that there are in the direction we want to go,
Mm-hmm.
the alien life signs and the explorer, the team of explorers.
So we got them both.
We got them both.
Okay.
She got momentum. So I'm using a momentum to get both.
Excellent. I feel like our scenes are. Well, I suppose this is all right. I mean, they are uneven in content.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's point is we move on, we decide we move. As the rules go, they kind of imply you should only have one role, but then actually that's not true. They imply you should have one task, but we're kind of linking some of our tasks together into like one thing. There's like a big extended task. So again, that's fine. Are we trying to sneak in? I guess we are.
I'm not going to do some crazy Han Solo running down the Death Star hallway and then.
I think we should all try and sneak in.
Yes.
I'm assuming these things are relatively well sensor-wise, so I think the difficulty should be 2. I think we should increase the difficulty on these.
I think you're right. We're on their territory.
Yes. I don't know what sneaking is on.
That would be daring and security.
Really?
Security is the catch-all for.
Security seems fair enough, but dare it, not control.
Well, I guess it. Well, you know what? Actually, if we were trying to move quickly and quietly, I would say daring. So maybe control.
Yeah,
because we're trying to. Yeah.
I mean, that's just made it way hard for me. But still, okay. I am going to roll. I'm not going to tell you how many successes we got at last. So difficulty 2. Okay, so I got that many.
I have a 14.
You have a 14.
I do.
And Johnson.
Oh, and can I remind me, how do values work?
When you use or challenge a value, you can choose to either gain momentum or threat. So you can use each value once per game, and you either challenge it or use it.
Okay, I'm gonna. Well, what did I get? How many successes did I get?
I need to work this a bit for. None of these work. I mean, she's doing security. That's fine. I mean, what do I roll on? Because it's not weapon. She's not fighting anyone.
You know what? Just give her a control of 8.
Okay, 8's good. That's funny. I was going to say roll on engines because she's moving.
No, she's not a Segway.
Right. Okay. I got 1 and she got 1, but you got 2. So you are super stealthy.
Very stealthy.
However, the other 2 of us are not.
Now, question: Could you cash in a val or use a value to excuse me.
I could. I have this one. I think is semi-appropriate. Sensors can't tell you everything.
Ooh.
So I feel that is I distrust her beeping sensor, and therefore I am like, in fact, I shouldn't really have rolled. I didn't really need to roll for her. And so I kind of like I go ahead and act as like as a point man, as a scout, because I don't trust her bleepy sensor thing.
You have cat-like senses as well as cat-like
which
reflexes.
means I can re-roll one of my dice.
Okay.
Which doesn't help, but yeah. So they definitely didn't hear you coming, and they may or may not have heard the rest.
Well, what about her?
I got one for her as well.
Okay. All right. Well, great. All right. So we creep forward. Now, since you and I both know that, now, did you end up rolling 2 successes or no?
No, I got one.
Okay. So you got one, she got one, I got 2. What is the likelihood of you two failing alerting them and alerting them to the extent that they will like come after us?
I feel it's somewhat probable that they're going to hear us and ambush us.
What's the next step up from somewhat?
Probable.
And then
highly probable.
I think it's probable.
Okay, I will
don't
roll
necessarily
on
think it's highly probable, but I think it's probable. We're on their turf, and they are.
They are going to attack us.
Excellent. This scene sees us creeping through these tunnels.
These tunnels,
and
depends how big they are as to how big the tunnels are, I guess.
Yeah, and we're not as we think we're quiet. I'm quiet. You guys think you're quiet. But you're not as quiet as you think you are because their senses are attuned to this.
That's it. Yeah, because actually, if the difficulty is 1, we all would have succeeded. So you're absolutely right. We think we're being quiet, but you're actually super quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we smell funny, and you
right.
don't.
Yeah. They taste our DNA in the air.
Oh God, that's creepy.
And they come creeping at us.
Yes.
So then the question
are we keeping this as the same scene?
Yeah, I think this scene ends with them jumping out at us.
Okay, so I'm going to count this scene as a fail.
Yeah, because we didn't. This is the first scene we've outright failed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So we're trying to sneak through them, and
this
then
is scene 2 of Act 3, right?
So and now we are in scene 3 of Act
3. So we need to figure out what the heck these things will look like.
Yeah, which that's what I was on when I had to go back and look at the values.
Yeah. Now we had originally established way back in Act 1 that there was like a lizard, what we would categorize as like lizard-like. So there is a lizard-like aspect to them in some way, shape, or form. Maybe.
So that would class them as vertebrates. All right, so we're going to go vertebrates and reptile. And humanoid. Okay, they're pretty much our side. So they are humanoid.
Okay.
15. Spines. Spines is good. Okay, they have spines. And seriously, that was a 15. Oh, why do I keep rolling the same number? What's that? That's a 1. Antenna. Yeah, that works.
Okay.
That's how they can sense our DNA in it. All right, I need another one.
Yuck.
Stop. Oh my goodness. I've rolled 3 15s, 3 7s, and 2 1s. 16 is a tail. Yeah, tail.
That works.
Yeah. So there we go. They are lizards, but they are spiny. All right. The one thing I want to know is, right, do they walk on 2 legs or 4? I'm going to go 50-50. 50-50, they walk on 2 legs. They walk on 2 legs.
Okay. So that means they probably have opposable, they have functional hands.
Yeah.
And they have spines, and they have antennae, which detected us. So they spring on us, boom, these humanoid-sized beasties, and they attack. They attack probably with an intention to grab and take us and stick us in their goo pods so that we will be transformed into them.
I'm saying they attack the person in the rear because that's the person that would be least aware.
Ooh, that's terrible. Oh, and then we're cut off.
That's also you, by the way. That's the deal.
Is it?
Well, I was going with I was the point
I succeeded
man,
though.
And yeah, I know. But
it was you two chuckle bears.
All right, fine. They attacked Johnson then. But
Yeah.
I'm the point man, so they wouldn't attack me. Right, they attacked Johnson then.
Well, here's something to consider. She's got the boop, boop, boop. No one ever has like an ear thing. She's making
points
noise.
Forward. The BP thing points forward as she thinks they're all miles away.
Oh, that's right. There we go.
I was absolutely right. Can't just trust the senses. If only she had been turning around with it.
I'm envisioning she's walking and she's looking all cautiously and glancing up and down. She's got a phaser in one hand, she's got the tricorder in the other, and she walks past, like, there's slime on the
Yeah.
walls of the caverns, and she walks past, and actually some of the cavern on her right side, the tube wall looks like it's just covered in slime, but it's actually a membrane, and one of the things just like rips, like all of a sudden, like forces through it and attacks her, and then
Just
more
like
of them flood out.
because we're going to do the hits again. I'm going to go with three
Yeah.
hits for one for each. I'm also going to say there's three of them because then there's one hit for each of them, which
Okay.
makes it super easy.
Well, wait. So we take 3 hits each.
We take one. I'm just going with one hit each, which is super hardcore, but I don't care. That's funny. So you're meant to just do 3 hits if you're playing it by yourself, but you can do it as sides. So I'm just, with the last time we just did, we're each one hit. If they get a hit, we go down.
What if we go with, what if we went with 2?
It'll just take longer.
Oh.
Also,
okay.
remember, we only take a hit if we fail a roll.
Okay. All right.
And having hit doesn't mean it just means you go down. It doesn't mean you're dead or anything. I'm going to say, though, the case of this, the difficulty is 2 because she's trying to avoid being got by these things, which she probably isn't going to.
Well, we're also, I think the difficulty might be 2 for all of us because it's kind of dark. We have our lights, but here's shadows flashing around. We're on their territory, and they're probably better with their clawed feet or whatever and footing. And so they have the advantage because of environment and because of surprise. So it's going to be a difficulty 2. And I already used one of my values. Now I can use other values, but I can only use a value once.
I'm going to tick off the value I used.
All right.
So she got 1, which means she failed, which means she takes a hit. So Johnson, because I'm being mean and going with one hit is down. Johnson is, I don't know why I've marked with the middle one, but Johnson is down.
Now, is down in this case, down doesn't mean dead. Down means like stunned, paralyzed, something like that, like a tarantula wasp.
Yeah, maybe it's just shot. It's grabbed her, and whether it's it's grabbed her and smacked around the head, and she's
and so it's probably going to try to get away with her, but right now, okay. So now we go.
All right, so you can go or I can go. Doesn't make any difference.
I'm going to shoot one of them.
Well, you're in the back, so it makes more sense. You could go on. Oh, I'm rolling for you, aren't I?
Boom. All right, so mine is daring and security is a 12. And wait a minute. Okay, so by the way, the value I'd used before was almost everyone has something useful to offer. So I was like, Johnson has something useful to offer, her skill in science. I'm going to go ahead and screw it. Just roll.
Have you got a useful focus?
I don't.
Well, this seems bad. Yeah, I got nothing.
So I try to be all Hollywood on the thing, like, I go like this with my wrist to like wrap up the invisible belt on my not machine gun, and I just start rocking and rolling and blasting away at the wall, and I miss, and one of the things just goes pew and spears me with one of its spines, and all we see is Guitari's eyes go wide and he slumps into the waiting arms of the lizard bug monster.
All right, it's all on me then. I at least
save the darn day.
I have hand phasers, so I have a focus which is relevant. And I have daring and security of 17, so I'm confident.
You're gonna roll 2 20s.
Oh, don't say
no.
That. Yeah, I have values. I've got push me too far and you'll see my ugly side, and willing to sacrifice myself to save my crew.
I think the first one applies.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the push me too far one.
You just watched your 2 crewmates drop.
Well, luckily I don't need
flooding
it.
out of the walls.
It gives me momentum. I don't need it. So I got 3 successes. So I got a hit and I got a bonus hit. So I'm going to just do open fire and take out 2 of them.
Excellent. So probably,
then,
do you think you would take out the 2 that were on each of us? The one that is, or the one that was jumping at you and then one of the other ones?
Yeah, the latter.
Okay.
All right. So I guess the other one, the one that was on one of you that I didn't get, is going to come for me. And I'm going to have to maybe fight hand to hand, which is fine because I also have a focus in hand to hand combat.
Which one did you shoot? The one that was on her or me?
Her. She was closer. So then the one that was on you is coming for me. So I'm gonna fight it in hand-to-hand combat.
Yes.
I'm not going to burn a value. I mean, technically, I've still got momentum from last time because
You
I
do.
rolled 3 successes. So I've
Use
still
it.
got my momentum. So if I need to, I can. Oh, I got a 1. Get in. And a 4. I got 4 successes on this.
Woo! All right.
It comes to I pull out my little survival knife and just like decapitate it.
All right.
And then I hold its head up and go, Conan stuff.
Yes, yes,
I'm going to
yes.
walk with its head now.
I believe that's. Oh, what is that? What's that called in Conan? That game? What's it? The display with the head where you like throw someone's. Anyway, so you have now killed all 3 of them.
Yes,
and the 2 of us are unconscious.
you are. I'm gonna make medicine rolls to bring you up, but I have field medic. So
Okay.
Ooh, what do I roll under for medic? Reason or insight?
I think in this case it would be okay. I think it's going to be control. Or here's my question: as this scene, this is the 3rd scene, correct?
This is the 3rd scene, yeah.
As this scene comes to a close, you're there like frantically hypo spraying us and stuff like that. We're like passed out in this tunnel. Do more of them come?
Oh God, let me heal you first. What my roll is? You say control. All right, so I'm rolling on.
I thought was if more of them were coming, it'd be daring. If not, it'd be control.
All right, okay. Are more of them coming? I mean, there was laser fire, so
I think it's probable.
Oh,
I think it's probable.
Yeah, I rolled a 1, so there's more coming. Okay, well, I've got to try and heal you before they come. So this is daring then. So that makes it easy. Now I'm rolling on a 16. Well, that's a complication, but I also got a 1. So you're definitely up.
Cool.
What can we have as a complication? Maybe it broke your phaser when it jumped in.
Oh, you know what? I hate it and I love it at the same time. That's great. You know,
well, you weren't using it anyway.
Little pause. You're not well. Little pause and an aside. It's so crazy now when I watch movies or shows, I see success and complication. And honestly, like when I saw the D&D movie, there was a scene near the end when Chris Pine's character like does something with his magic or whatever, hits, strikes, whatever, and then the whatever it was, the drag, something runs off, and he gets caught in a rope and dragged off. And I was like, success plus complication.
It's funny that because for all of the D&D stuff, it's like you couldn't play the things that happen scene to scene. You couldn't play in D&D.
No,
because that's not how 5e works.
No, that's not how the system works.
It's everything's like pass or fail. That you don't have that second thing.
Yeah, but I love, and I don't know why this mechanic for success with complication or failure with complication, I don't know why this mechanic for me makes the creative side of it flow so much easier than FFG Star Wars. Maybe it's all the little fiddly dice took my attention, and I would look at them and I would like start thinking about little bits and pieces instead of the story. But this it never fails to make me think of things, or you in this case.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem I've always had with Star Wars and Genesis is that, like I've said, it's the weird thing is it's quicker on the app because you do the app, you roll it, and you straight away you can see, oh, I did succeed, and there's a good or a bad thing. Which when you roll the dice, there's a lot of, as soon as your character are effective, there's a lot of totting up to go, oh, there's some bad stuff happening here. But anyway, you are absolutely
all right. So my phaser rifle is broken.
Your phaser rifle is broken. So and then I'm going to roll for what's her face, and she's up as well. And so we have momentum as well because I got.
And they're coming at us.
They are coming.
Wait, I thought you failed the roll on her.
No, I rolled for you first. No,
okay.
Destroyed.
Oh, the complication was the broke. Yeah. So both of us have been hypo sprayed and oh my goodness, up, with our. I pull out the phaser. There's an extra phaser too, so I'm still armed. Just don't.
You still had one earlier, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think we need to book it. No more stealth. We need to run straight to the whatever they're called. Straight to the explorers. We need to get straight to where the explorers are. So she's got it on her thing, so we can follow that.
But isn't that right? So we're in this tunnel, and we know that these things are coming at us, and maybe out of more membrane walls.
If we just run down the tunnel, they'll be coming from the side, and we'll beat them. It'll be like Indy running past the booby traps in the Raiders, where he just runs fast and they all miss him.
This is scene 4.
Yes.
Okay. As we run forward,
we've got 2 scenes left. That's the other
2 scenes left. I'm like, all right, screw it, let's do it. Start running forward. pull out
Yeah.
my communicator and call the shuttle.
Barber.
Call Barber back on the shuttle. Can I get through to him?
Oh my god. Well, that would be a bit bad if we couldn't. But yeah, we did say there was some stuff. So yeah, I'm going to just go 50-50. Do you get through to him? No, you do not. Or how
Uh-oh.
about this? You're not sure.
Okay,
You're not sure. You
fair.
go through to him. There's definitely static. There's some interference, and you like, Barber, pick us up. Here's our coordinates, and you
Yeah.
don't know if you got through.
And I just leave the comm open. So it's constantly broadcasting, so you can hear us die. We run.
I'm gonna bring the head with me because I'm hoping I'm going to be able to Conan style on them, and they'll be scared. It might not
Okay.
work.
Okay.
Right. So we follow the tunnels. We know where the explorers are.
Yes.
Should we just make a daring roll to just see if we can get there before we get overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Just sheer speed.
Yeah, I like daring and security as we just go barreling down this thing,
I'll just roll for you and me. Right.
whooping and yelling.
Oh,
that's a 12 for me.
I succeeded because I have a like 17 or something stupid, but I also rolled another complication. And but I have momentum. So on yours, I failed and rolled another complication. So I'm going to use my momentum to re-roll your complication. Okay. You succeed, right? So both of us succeed, but we have a complication.
Without a complication.
How about the complication is Johnson gets grabbed?
Oh, we succeeded, and there was still a lingering complication.
I rolled complications on both of us, but on
ouch.
mine at least I succeed in yours. I just failed and got a complication.
Man.
Well, we need another complication. Well, the other obvious one is we get there and we're just too late. We get there, we get to the scene.
You know what? Here I'm actually this sounds terrible, but a down note every once in a while, like that ending of that DS9 episode where Cisco, after having set up the lie to kill that Romulan ambassador, he's like telling himself that I lied and I did this horrible thing, but it was right. Like that was a down note, and I was like, hey, hats off to Star Trek.
It's your call. It's either Johnson or a substantial amount of the explorers.
Well, we know Johnson. She's one of us. We don't know these explorers.
All right, so we burst out into some big open cavern. In the outside of the cavern, it's a bit lighter. There's more bioluminescent stuff, or some sun's bouncing off a bunch of things in this cavern. There's some like sludge. There's some primordial type sludge, and we can see that these people are just shoved into it. Where like their mouths are sticking out so they can breathe, but otherwise they're just like stuck in this goopy, gunky stuff, which is somehow just.
And if we could see them up close, we would see them like gasping for air, kind of like, and they're delirious. Oh, that's horrible. I like it.
Is there like a big queen thing which spawns out all these?
I think that there is a. There's not a queen, but there's something, and it looks like a. I don't know. It looks like a Shoggoth or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking like just like a big thing which just it doesn't move. It just like births out these things and then sucks in the like genetic stuff. Just like absorbs things. And then
I think that it's probably the actual like the source being, whether it's sentient or not, is mostly like goop and chunks. And what it does is like if there's any kind of like independent moving parts of it, it's beings that it's gobbled up, mutated, and then spit back out. So these lizard things were like probably some kind of lizard life form that was native to this planet that got gobbled up by this thing at some point in the past. And now it's like they're like little minions or henchmen. They go out and like do things.
Right. I'm going to try and hold them off with my whatever it's called it's called a display in Conan, isn't it? So I'm going to hold the head up and scare them and see if they get the message. Like, if you mess with me, this is what happens to you.
I don't think that's going to work.
I don't think it's going to work. I'm still going to do it. I've got to be presence. I'm going to do security because it's a strength thing. None of my other stuff is relevant. If I only had the push me thing, that would be good, but I've just burnt that. So I have 14. So this is not terrible, but this has got to be at least difficulty 2.
Oh yeah.
I rolled a 15. I was so close. Well, that doesn't work.
Okay, while you are doing that, now question, what are we doing with this complication? Is it too late?
I think most of them are gone, so maybe a few have survived. But I think whereas we were hoping we'd be able to get them all out, I think a good
I
chunk of
think,
them are gone.
honestly, I think it's too late for all of them.
You're not even going to let one survive.
But that's just yeah, one like us and Johnson.
All right. So are they all goners? So
I
we're going
think
to go with highly probable.
I think it's too late.
That gives us a tiny chance. They are. That's it. They're all goners.
So we need to just. So this scene, we're like, oh crap! You're in
Yeah.
there with
So
the bug head.
some are being like just ripped apart and just eaten by the big slobbery mound thing, which
The
is perfect. And
Shoggoth.
then like maybe one or two of the others actually burst out inside out of the goo to start toward us. And yeah, we have failed, and the things are just closing in on us.
We're running. So
Yeah,
this scene ends. I
did
think.
actually make a roll, so we did
Yeah,
fail
this
that one as
scene.
well.
This scene we fail,
Yeah,
and we run.
too many bits of paper. So we succeeded on 13 because I defeated them, and we failed scene 14. And so we just have to run, and we have to hope that Bishop style Barber turns up just as we get there. Actually, if it's Bishop style, he's not there when we get to the end. Then he comes back.
Yep. All right. So
we're gonna have to run again then.
daring and security.
Is this scene 5? Oh yeah, we need the advert break as we realize it's too late.
Yeah. And look at each other and yell and run. I don't have a value. I have the only two values I have left to use are if it's broken, I can fix it.
I do have a value. I have willing to sacrifice myself to save my crew. So I am going to use that value to block the corridor to make sure that Guattari and Johnson make it out.
Well, thank you.
And I'm gonna give myself up.
Well, you're gonna potentially. You're gonna stand there. You're gonna put yourself in the breach and just start firing. You know, it's like I said. It's a shame that the phaser rifle can't be like a belt-fed phaser rifle because that would be way more hua than just pew pew. Heck yeah. So we just run.
Yeah. So Krell's just gonna stay there, and then Johnson and Guattari are going to make a run for it.
Yeah.
So I will roll for you. I'm not going to roll for myself. We can decide that later whether I survived or not. Let's roll for you. What were you rolling on for your daring and security then?
Daring security is a 12.
I wonder if it should be fitness. Anyway, you got 2 successes, so I don't even need to roll. So you make it to safety. You pull Johnson with you. You get to the exit to the cave. Is Barber there?
Wait, let's deal. So this is the end of that scene, or actually, it'd be really dramatic. Is that scene ends? The two of us run like pell-mell out of the front of the mouth of the cave into the jungle, and we're looking around for the shuttle, hoping that Barber is there. And Guattari looks over his shoulder, hoping that his friend Commander Krull is behind him. So the question is, what in the heck happens to Krull, and is there a shuttle there waiting for us?
Well,
or even on the way.
The shuttle definitely isn't there now. I'm not even going to roll for that because that
is or is not.
No, it is not. But then we'll see. Right. So does the shuttle arrive
at all?
If it doesn't, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I'm going to probable, somewhat probable. I mean, hopefully 50-50.
I'd say somewhat probable. We had never established that there was any kind of problem with communications.
I mean, we did say there was a problem with transport and some, but not massively with communications. Okay, so somewhat probable. Does Barber turn up in the shuttle? Oh, I got a Starfleet symbol. Yes, he does.
Okay.
All right. So am I making a skill roll to save Krull, or are we also rolling on the probability matrix?
I think you should roll because Krull has to, you've got to decide how would Krull act? What would Krull do in this moment? And then I think a skill roll based around that.
I think having just stood in the hallway and shot lots of them to sort of home out, the easiest thing is to just back into the tunnel and just destroy the tunnel so that they're trapped and then I can get out.
Well, we could do that with the shuttle's phasers. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, as you've got out, there is no shuttle. You turn around, there's also no Krull. Barber appears, swoops down. You jump into the thing, and then as you go in it, Kroll comes running out of the tunnel with all of these things behind him, and you're like, open fire. But I'm gonna, regardless of what it is, it's gonna be Darren in security.
The shuttle is there. We're jumping on the shuttle. Krull comes out, a long train of these things following him, and
you press the buttons and just shoot up the tunnels. So the tunnels collapse on the bad guys. We can roll for that because you could always goob it and kill me.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have any useful values now that you're on a ship? No. Okay. 14. Oh, 13 and 14.
All right.
With them. There you go. You successfully avoid Krull with the lasers, blow up a couple of the aliens, and collapse the tunnel. And Krull makes it to the ship.
All right.
And we take off back to the USS Tracy.
Yes.
And when we debrief, we tell them you need to put a big red X over that planet so no one ever goes there again.
No. I think this episode actually ends with the three of us coming out of medical quarantine after a few days, and then this briefing. Then there's like a montage of the briefing, or maybe it's one of us doing we start off with an opening log. Maybe the captain of the USS Tracy, the what's the name? Captain Strack.
Yeah.
Maybe he's doing the log.
What's funny is at the end of it, you're meant to decide was overall the mission successful or not based on how many ticks you got. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 2 halves. We got like 12 out of 15. But we failed.
But here's the tough thing though, is that I think like story-wise, okay, if our directive, okay, going by Star Trek Adventures, the traditional game, the idea of directives, if we went by the directive of save the survey crew, well, we failed. If we had a directive, or a part of that was to determine the status of the survey crew, then we were successful. And I'm not like, reaching here looking for like, trophies for doing nothing. But the other thing is, if we were to determine like what happened there and come up with a workable response, something really awful happened there. Something really awful could continue to happen there. And so the fact that we determined that, we're quarantining this planet. There's
Actually,
no way.
It wasn't so much that there wasn't anything we could have done. We determined what happened. So yes, we didn't save the explorers because the explorers were basically already dead.
We're toast.
So we couldn't have been much more efficient and effective.
And Beta Inari VII is quarantined. That is what Captain Strack is going to say in his log. He's going to fill out all the paperwork for it, and he's going to recommend to Starfleet Command that this planet be quarantined, and on top of that, that the system itself even be put as off limits.
It's just Section 31 are going to turn up and take stuff off the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
Use it as a biohazard in a war against the Klingons or whoever war against it.
Section 31 and their corporate subsidiary, Weyland-Yutani Corporation, is going to show up, and there's just going to be like gouts of black goop all over the place. Yep.
Well, there we go.
There we go. Wow. So I think the final scene ends with the USS Tracy breaking orbit.
Well, then it's now they could do those fancy things where it zooms in from the outside of the Tracy through the windows, because we do that. They like doing that in Strange New Worlds. And we're sitting in whatever passes for a bar. Yeah, you, me, and Johnson, like, toast into Speg.
Yes.
Pouring one out. A 4th glass on the table for poor old Speg who didn't make it.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Okay. So that's the first episode of our. And do we have a name for this? Or we're just calling it The Adventures of the USS Tracy? That seems kind of flat.
I thought it was going to be Star Trek Thunderbirds. Because that's what it is.
Interstellar Rescue.
Yeah. It's either that or it's, Star Trek Interstellar Rescue. But that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. Well, then it'd be STIR. Star Trek Interstellar Rescue.
Yeah, that's a pretty good acronym.
STIR.
Yeah, you can have that. Star Trek Interstellar Rescue.
Yeah. All right. Any immediate thoughts? Call them rapid reactions to us. We made characters. We made a ship. We established the framework for a campaign. We played an episode.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts?
I think if you try to play exactly rules as written and you're in your situation where you've never played solo stuff or even contemplate it before, I think you'd find it a bit difficult. Like if that had been you by yourself, you would have got lost. You would have hit a brick wall and been like, I don't know what to do next. The reason I didn't is because I've played solo and co-op things where I've had I don't think I've ever played anything solo, but I've played things co-op where I've had a similar thing where I've gone, oh, I don't know what I'm meant to do next. And then I've gone and looked online, and it basically everything says when you're in that situation, you either roll on a table to show what happens next, or you ask questions until you find an answer, or you just make it up. So I'm not sure the book's as clear as it could be in the respects of like how you go, there's stuff that's saying that how you start, and there is stuff saying the idea of like that you do a test in a scene, and the idea of you go from scene to scene, you do 15 scenes. I don't think there's a clear scene, the clear thing of like what happens in the next scene. How do you go from scene to scene? I think that could be clear.
There's a thing that in some games is pretty common, but I haven't seen as much in recent years. And it is the multi-page, multi-part notional encounter or scene. There are examples of, here's one essentially one role. Like in the original, the Federation rulebook, the original rulebook for Star Trek Adventures comes to mind. There's a like a paragraph or two that describes, I think, like Mr. Worf fighting a Klingon, and the paragraph or three essentially describes like one set of roles for a Mr. Worf character, or some Starfleet character. And so it's not even a full encounter, like the full scope of they meet, the adversaries encounter one another, they have a struggle of some sort, and then the struggle is resolved. Like they fight each other, there's damage, and then there's a resolution to that scene. There are precious few of those in any of these rule books. And I think you're right. I think maybe like a 3 or 4 page spread of like, here's work through a scene, another, maybe 2 or 3 scenes even, instead of just these very granular examples that are provided. Now, admittedly, page count is money. It's typesetting, blah, blah, blah. It's all that kind of gobbledygook. And there are plenty of people, including folks who are the authors, who are doing these things online. So maybe we're in this weird transitional era where, that which is in the book is the assumption, not even the expectation, but the assumption by authors is that for something like this, people are going to turn to online resources to flesh things out. I agree with you. And I appreciate your feedback because, I'm like, complete rube when it comes to solo RPGs. Like I can do solo war games, but this, but I think I've got a better sense of how to go about it now.
Yeah. I think that would have been a good idea in the book to have a here's how you kind of play it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And considering some of the other stuff's in the book, I think other stuff that probably didn't need to be there as much. I think a clear example of like playing out a couple of scenes would have been useful.
Yeah.
I
like it.
I mean, I think what helps is that we're pretty happy with this is a simplified version of 2D20, which makes it super easy to play.
Yeah.
There's a lot less moving parts that we have to worry about. So I think it works. It worked well.
I enjoyed it. And again, I think the random tables and the bits and pieces, like here's this little factoid about your story, and it has no context and it isn't attached to anything else. Merely having that there spurs the creative juices. And I think this is a cool campaign. Like this would be playable with a group of players. I think like this has got legs to, do a lot of stories.
Definitely think all the random tables are more like they help. In fact, it would be really good for just a GM making up adventure. They were stuck. I think they're very good at setting up what happens in a session. I think once you've started, I don't think there's as many random tables for at when you're playing. But like, things like that. So like there's other games I've played where the random tables are good for starting out, but almost encounter based. This kind of gives you the overall scope of what's going to happen. And then once we were in it, we didn't find random tables for like, oh, well, what could happen now? What does this, that kind of, once you're doing it, the overall idea and the twist and complications, there was plenty for that. But
Yeah.
once you'd kind of was in it, then there weren't as many tables then. But then the thing is, that's when a lot of games you just use the yes/no probability matrix, so which is what we did. We used that loads.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of fine. But they could easily release like, you know, some PDF supplements with a bunch more tables of like,
That's
you
a
know,
good point.
land encounter or a space encounter and some more different things that can happen.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, how does a Ferengi react to you? Kind of like, you know, loads of things like there's plenty more things they could add. But
Yeah,
it's
that would
good.
be interesting, like a set of tables that would be relevant for things that an away team sees, environments an away team experiences on a planet, in a
Yeah.
space station, on a blah 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 blah. I think we're good to go. And the
Yep.
USS Tracy will, I assume that the USS Tracy will make an appearance again in the not too distant future,
Yes.
because both our characters survived.
Because at some point we won't be able to think of episodes to do. Well, let's just do some more
No, this
solo
is
stuff.
fun. I like this. This was a good, like, you know, a good, for me, a good like RPG session is a great creative exercise where like I may throw out things that you didn't think of and vice versa, and we get more because it's both of us. And I think that the solo game, the tables go some distance to being that other person.
Yeah.
To an extent. And so like, yeah, I had fun. It was good. So we need to do that again because I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening. You can visit our show's homepage at anchor.fm/fluffncrunch. That's FLUFFNCRUNCH. We would really appreciate feedback and reviews on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to this on. Thanks so much.